flight crew, please prepare for departure.
Welcome to the Travsessed Podcast. We're your hosts, Kim and Aaron, and we are in our at-home makeshift studio doing this Halloween episode.
I'm scared.
You should be.
Like, I actually have chills right now thinking about what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, so if you want to see our at-home studio, definitely head over to YouTube and check it out on the Travsessed Podcast YouTube page. For all of you that are watching, you can see the whole setup. Even Mimi LaRue is just sound asleep in the studio. I do want to point out one thing. Kim and I watch a lot of podcasts, and so every time we watch this podcast, the podcast person who's hosting, if they've written a book, they always have their book somewhere in the scene. And so we haven't written
a stack, like...
Yeah, we haven't written a book of our New York Times bestsellers, but what we do have is we do have our backpack, which is a Amazon bestseller, which is now going to be a Travsessed.com bestseller.
Don't look at the camera!
Yeah.
Yeah, we're like, shameless plug. Just a random backpack sitting here.
Yeah.
You can get yours at Travsessed.com.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because this is actually, we've done, we've done 2 podcast interviews with the visual component, right? Like with the video. But they were interviews. And so this is actually our first podcast that we're doing solo on the camera.
Oh, you're right.
Which is so weird because I naturally just want to look so bad. Or we have our computer right here so that we can look to see how everything looks. So I either want to look directly into the camera or I want to just watch myself on the computer, so it feels a little bit unnatural.
Right. And if you guys out there are looking for any type
You're looking at the camera.
No, I'm not
You're supposed to be looking at me.
Sorry. If you're looking for... It's weird when I'm talking to the audience, though, but I'm not talking to you.
You are.
So how do you feel about this, Kimberly?
Okay.
I do feel that a lot of the podcasters that we watch have this, like, amazing setup, right? And I think we're the coaches on, like, do it before you're ready kind of deal, 100%. Because like, why we're travelers, we're healthcare travelers, why would I buy a podcast studio? That doesn't make any sense, right? So we're using what we have. But I do feel that there's a sense of like, come into our home, come and knock on our door, we'll be waiting for you know that whole thing, Three's Company.
Yeah.
Right? But like, we're doing the podcast, literally I'm relaxing on the couch in my house clothes with the pug sleeping, and we're getting it done.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because if you follow us on Instagram at Kim and Aaron G, then
because you're talking to me, but you're not talking to me, so it's very bizarre.
I feel weird. I feel so fucking uncomfortable right now. Like, I don't know
you feel
how.
Like you took an edible?
Yeah. Like, I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, I feel when we just record the podcast, I feel so comfortable, so relaxed. It's like you and I shooting the shit, and even though it's exactly the same as you and I sitting here like recording a podcast, knowing the camera is just freaking watching and like grilling, I feel weird.
Alright, so it's not there.
Okay, shake it off.
Yeah.
Like, I'm freaking. Okay, so back to what I was saying. Be natural.
Be natural.
And I think too, because anytime, like, we're very used to being on camera. Like,
totally.
We do YouTube videos, we teach, like, we do online trainings, and I love them, and I actually really do feel comfortable on camera, but I think it's the weird thing about knowing there's a camera, but you're not supposed to look at it. Like, when we do our trainings, like, you're looking at the camera.
But it's not hot lava. If you look at the camera, it's not going to melt you. Like, you're okay.
It's still awkward. It's like a reality show.
Oh, no. Okay.
No.
No,
I'm not. No. It's another story for another time. But with a reality show, it's like the cameras are there and you're supposed to just act natural and go about your normal life without even interacting or acting like the camera's there. Like, you never look at the camera. You never talk to the camera. Like, it's 101, like TV life, you know?
Thanks.
So anyways.
Do your friends teach you that?
Yeah, I have a lot of friends who are on television. You know, I study them, take tips.
Yeah, totally.
Anyways, what I was saying is that if you follow us on Instagram, then I did a little behind the scenes kind of tour. And it was so funny because you know, again, you have to start somewhere, right? Like that, what you said. And I think that's really powerful is like, if you want to do something, just get started and you're going to figure it out. Like you got to start somewhere and then you'll kind of build from there. But I did this like behind the scenes pan, and it's, you know, it's just funny because like we have our lap board that we're using with a GoPro stick and like chip clips that are clipped to the microphone. Like that's our mic.
Well, we have one mic clipped to the top of the computer too, aimed this direction.
Right. And then we have our bins that we travel with that are stacked up that we have the camera on. And then this light we got from Target that's literally like the worst light you could ever have.
And candles.
Yeah, and candles for the vibe.
And the backlight coming in is like so bright.
So we have this beautiful curtain. And yeah, it's just, again, we'll laugh at this one day when we're like in our podcast studio, like our headphones and like profesh mic. But the lesson is, just get started. Because like if we would have waited to do a podcast until we had the fancy mic, the fancy equipment, the fancy lighting, the table, the setup, because you always see they have this beautiful backdrop with, if we would have waited to start until that happened, we'd be waiting a long time.
Totally.
So just get freaking started.
And we're also, again, we say this, we're healthcare travelers, so I'm not lugging all that stuff around. That's just insane. Now we have more things. It makes more sense, right?
Yeah.
To get a table, to get somewhere to sit, to get some decorations. But I think the podcast will develop along with us, and I think that's really cool. And I think the other hidden lesson from a not really harsh point of view, but like it's really how it's more for myself, is understanding that if people watch this and they're annoyed at the fact that I'm sitting on the couch with a GoPro stick and a microphone, that's not the type of audience I want anyway, right? I want people that are like, oh my God, this is awesome, like watching them on their couch with their pug and their coffee and their weird lighting, and they're doing it and I'm enjoying it.
Just get started.
Exactly.
It's hilarious. Like I literally I don't care what anyone thinks about it. It's like, I just think it's funny because of how janky it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
and
hilarious.
You know that it triggers me a little bit more than you, right?
I personally don't care, and I know you do. Right. I know. I totally get that, because you're more of like the perfectionist and wants it to be I would literally just like hold up my cell phone and just like shoot like an episode. Like I don't care that much, but I know you do. So yes, it is a little bit different.
I like those details.
Okay, and if you're listening, FYI, if you don't know, you can now watch the podcast. If you want a visual and you're into that, you can watch it over on the Travsessed Podcast YouTube channel. And so we head over there, make sure you subscribe. And then, if you feel like sitting down and having a cup of coffee on a Sunday morning and watching it instead of listening,
it's there for you.
You got the option, people. Yep.
I will say one more house cleaning thing. Something that really cool that happened in the Travsessed world is Patagonia 2023 was launched and sold out. We had to add an extra group, which we really wanted to do.
Well,
and what?
We weren't sure. No. So, yeah.
So yay for that.
Okay, yay!
Can we go there first? Okay. Like yay?
Yay for that. Originally we were just going to do one trip, and we were like, we're not going to do 2 trips because we did 2 trips in Peru, and while that was amazing, the Inca Trail was really hard, and we just felt like it was a lot to do 2 back-to-back trips. So we're like, never ever again. We're never ever doing 2 trips. Like promise me, like we spit on it. We freaking like did the, the secret handshake.
I didn't even know we did that.
Yeah, like we go like this and then.
Whoa.
That should be our thing. I just made that up.
So like,
it's like this.
Okay.
We'll work on that.
Is that the llama?
Yeah. Oh my God, I didn't even think about that. I was thinking more snake, but yeah.
The horny llama.
Yeah, which was the name of our group. Okay,
on
the Inca Trail. I like that. We'll work on that.
Okay.
But we did, we wrote in blood, we were never going to do 2 trips.
And that was funny because the people that are coming on the trip, the Patagonia trip, who were on the Inca Trail, the first thing they said was, thought you guys weren't doing 2 groups.
I know.
We're like, you're on to us.
I know. My mom's like, now, Kimberly, remember why you didn't want to do 2 trips? Let's just talk this through. It was just hilarious because we were so adamant,
But the Inca Trail is completely different. I mean, the Inca Trail is brutal.
Right.
But awesome.
Right. Amazing, but like it was physically challenging and it was emotionally challenging as well. And we were very sick, so that was like added the whole...
And it was our first trip ever.
Right.
We didn't know what to expect. We didn't know what all that was.
Right.
Now we do.
Now we do. And so, but we went into this whole Patagonia trip saying, okay, we're only going to do the one trip and it's going to be amazing. And because we like smaller trips, 10 to 12 people, because we want it to be more intimate and chill. And my whole philosophy is like, I want everybody to sit at the same table. If we have to start breaking up tables and stuff, like that's not the vibe I want with this big group of people, because I feel like you lack the closeness of really getting to know people and really getting to talk and connect, because there's just too many people.
Totally.
So that's really important to us. So we're like, okay, we're going to do one trip. It's going to be epic. And then the first trip literally sold out
before we launched.
Before we did our walkthrough.
We had some very determined individuals reaching out back channels, being like, "I want in now."
From our Peru trip,
right.
We gave our people who came on the Peru trip like first dibs that had reached out to us like at first, right? And so we're like, okay, I guess like let's do a second one, because there were still so many people who wanted to come. And we're like, we can't show up and do this video walkthrough and be like, guys, things are coming, but like it's sold out, but this is what you're missing. You know, like
it
that
really was, yeah.
That would have made no sense. I mean, it literally, there was no spots left.
Right.
So that day that we did the live walkthrough, we had to make that decision. Do we just kind of cancel this whole thing and say, sorry guys, it's over? Or do we want to commit to doing a second trip and we go on and say, hey, the dates are changing, we're doing a second trip, here we go. Totally. And so we decided to do the second trip.
Totally. And again, we're talking about this. This is a fantastic problem to have.
Of
to have
course,
to figure
I'm
out.
so grateful.
That's what I'm saying. It's amazing and it's so much fun. And so it's like, if people are putting that much effort and being like, we want to come, like we want to make that possible, and we're able to.
100%.
So it's like, yeah, it's going to be, by the end of the second trip, we'll be tired. We'll be like, being like, okay, like we're ready to go back home and do what we got to do. But I think now energetically, I'm totally aligned with that, with the two groups.
Well, right. And knowing that the W Trek is nowhere as physically demanding as the Inca, and the group, so both of the groups are sold out. All those spots have been filmed.
Yeah.
Maybe. Stay tuned. No. But filled, and everybody just has the best energy. Like you can feel that through emails. Believe it or not, guys, okay?
Yeah.
I want to put this out there as a side note and tip for you. You can feel so much energy and personality through an email, through a text, through a DM. And it's just like, I don't know, like there's some people that have reached out to us or do reach out, and like you can tell instantly. It's just like, I don't know, it's just like an energy that comes through the words that it turns you off. And it could be, they could be so cool in person.
You've had that before?
I've had that before, where somebody I was like texting with for a new job, I was like, damn, like this girl's gonna be like such an asshole. Like her texts were kind of cold and just not very like open and fun. Like I'm very much of a texter with like emojis, and I like to share the emotion I'm feeling, and I put a little extra time because I know that's felt. And she was just super short and to the point, and I was like nervous going in, and she ended up being like one of the coolest girls I've ever met in my life. Just the funnest, friendliest, most welcoming, whatever. Just coolest person. I feel
both
like,
her and her husband. Yeah.
And I feel like that's more rare though. I do think you can tell a lot through people's words. And so as just a tip, if you're reaching out to somebody, really be mindful of how you're piecing something together, because the people that reached out that were just, you could tell they were fun, they were friendly, they were like, I'm so excited, like, blah, 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 like engaging.
Yeah.
It's like you wanted to.
No, totally. And I think there's time and a place. And I think as we've gone into the digital age, I want to give a shout out to Laura Latimer, who really has taught me about nonverbal communication. And she talks about that all the time, coming from a healthcare traveler company and recruiter point of view, right? Because we have gone to the digital age. It's not about getting on the phone anymore and having a conversation and feeling people's voices, because that's a different skill that everybody has learned. If you're on the phone and you're an asshole, you can hear it, right? But when you're typing, understand that people's senses are heightened and they can hear that as well. And I had to practice after Laura mentioned nonverbal communication. I was like, holy crap, I never knew that was a thing. I started thinking back to like how I'm texting and how I'm writing. And then I go back and read it and say, does this sound like me? And there's a lot of times where you feel like the less is more, but in these cases, it's not. And it's about getting your point across and understanding if your true identity, your true energy is coming out on that screen. And this is a business tip for anybody, a personal tip, whatever. If you know those people that just type K in the text, it's literally like saying, you know, fuck
worst.
you. I don't
have time.
I don't have time
care.
for you.
Yeah.
I don't care about what you're saying. All I have time for is K.
Yeah.
Right? Like you could be the nicest person and not mean that, but that is the nonverbal communication that's coming back. And you have to be aware of that.
100%.
And so when you're going on these trips and you're going on a trip where people are looking at the energy, if you're typing back like send me the info, like it's
like,
just
no.
like, okay, no, like you're out.
Actually, I'm not, bitch.
Right. If there's people that are like, oh my God, I'm so excited about this. I've always wanted to go to the W. I've done this and that. And like, you know, I really want to go on this trip. This sounds like amazing. So excited. What do I need to do? There's a different energy in that.
100%. And I think too, is like what we've realized is that, again, you don't have to be fakey, sneaky.
No.
You don't have to have, it's not all rainbows and butterflies and fucking cheery dolls all the time, right? Like, that's not the point, right? But I think it's just, we know for ourselves and the groups, the experiences that we want to create. Okay, we're bringing a bunch of people together that are trusting us to create an environment for them, an experience for them. They're trusting us with their time, their money. Like, there's a lot of responsibility.
We're leaving the country.
And we want to create to the best of our ability, right? I know you can't control everything at all, but to the best of our ability to create a space that is filled with uplifting energy, positive mindset, just happier, friendlier, open, like welcoming people. Because what we're doing is challenging and it's hard, and we're going to one of the most remote places in the world, and you have to be, things can happen, and you have to be flexible and you have to be adaptable. And if shit goes wrong, you're like, okay guys, like we're gonna figure it out. Like, all of us are in charge of like uplifting the energy in a group, right? And creating a positive experience. Not that we all have to be freaking chuckles and smiles the whole time, but I think people get what I'm saying is like, we know the difference between somebody who just naturally has more of a positive mindset and can power through and sees the challenge, accepts the challenge, wants to learn, wants to grow, wants to push. And then the person that wants to complain and wants to be negative,
miserable,
and wants to focus on, like, if that's, and there's nothing wrong with either, but we as a company and as just ourselves, we are like, to our core, we want to create a space that is more positive.
Well, totally. And we also,
it's just that this will be the last thing I say is like the complainers and the kind of negative Nellies are just not like meant for our group.
No. And again, it goes back to what we were talking about really focusing in on this. And there are people that are in my family that I love dearly that I would never travel with. Because when you travel with somebody, that is a different type of relationship, right? Like, you are bound to this person for a very long time, and you have to travel in the same type of way. You have to get energized by the same type of things.
Yeah.
And that's a tough group to find. And it's a hit or miss kind of thing. And we're trying to do our best to accommodate and make the best group possible. But I will say, too, like, with this Patagonia trip, this is so intimate. We're staying in dorms. We're staying in, tight quarters together. We're always together. So if somebody's throwing that off, it's going to throw off that entire group. And so you need to do your best, which we've tried to do, to create that.
Well, right. And I think the last thing I'll say about this is, again, like, it's not trying to paint the picture that you always have to be happy and positive, because that's absolutely not the case. Like, there's many times that we're doing something and I'm like,
bitter.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
Like I hate you, miserable.
Well, even I don't want to talk. I don't want to see people. I don't want to be around people.
You want to be quiet. You want to go inward. You don't want to, like, you're in a bad mood. You're not feeling well. Like, we all get that. We're all in it. So it's not that you always have to be happy, because I sure as hell am not happy all the time. Like, especially if I'm hungry. So, like, that's okay, but it's just about having that innate response to say, I may not be in the best mood right now, but I'm going to power through. I'll figure it out, but I'm not going to leak that out into the entire group and bitch and complain and drag other people down with me.
Right.
And like that's where you are 90% of the time.
Right.
Like I would say I can be in a bad mood maybe 10% of the time, and like I'm pretty happy and flexible and easy, and like, would you agree?
No,
Because you're looking at me like, actually, I would say like
no,
40%.
Sorry,
accurate.
I didn't mean to do that. I'm listening intently to what you're saying, and I think that's a good point. That's a good way to tangibly touch it. Like there are times that I go into work and I'm into the hospital and I'm miserable. I don't want to be there, but I'm not dragging my group down with me. And you know that. Like I could easily do that. I could easily be that rotten egg in the department that's just bitter. Right? But it's like, it's not their fault that I'm miserable.
Yeah.
So I'll figure it out. And I want to figure it out because I don't want to feel miserable. And that's the mindset that we're looking for.
And the percentage. Like if you're a happy person 75% of the time,
Yeah.
that's what you want to look at. Anyway, long story short,
This is the longest intro ever.
Just be mindful of when you're communicating with other people, verbally and non-verbally, like how are you coming across? Because it really is that thing of like, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And that really can be felt in all forms of communication.
Totally.
And so just try to be yourself, but just try to articulate how you're feeling and be able to express that so that it's felt on the other side.
Okay, just off what you said, be yourself. Yes. But there are times where yourself is not coming out non-verbally.
Yeah.
And so being aware of that.
Okay.
But if that's how you are, that's how you are. No judgment. Do you, boo.
Just don't come on a trip with us.
Yeah. No,
Period.
Yeah.
Okay. So all of that being said, those trips are sold out. But if you want to get on the interest list for more trips that we'll be planning next year, head over to our website. So I'm Travsessed.com, and then on the adventure page, there's a place there that you can put in your email, and that automatically will bring you onto that list. And so we're planning another Peru trip and then Bali.
Bali's going to be epic.
Yeah.
I was just in the shower before, and I was just thinking, I had a whole list. And it's like funny because Kim plans a lot of these, and like I'm so familiar with Bali. It's when I'm not familiar with an area that overwhelms me to like figure out how this is going to work. Kim loves that shit.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, go boo go. Like do your thing, right? She could sit all day and figure this stuff out. I don't have the patience for that, and I get paranoid and I get nervous.
You get overwhelmed. It's not your thing, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be because I like it.
But Bali, I know so well that I'm already like, okay, we could hit this route and do this and this and this and this, and like I'm excited about it.
And it's our first volunteer trip.
Totally.
It'll be incorporated. So if you're interested, make sure to get on that list because we will be sending out, that's our first line of communication, right? So basically both of those trips sold out through those interest lists. I ended up opening it up, like we give them the first dibs, and then I opened it up to the rest of the community, but there was only 3 spots left. By the time I was able to open it up. So if you want to be on the lookout, make sure to join that interest list so that you will be one of those first people to know.
Totally.
All right.
Wowzers.
We don't what are you talking about? We're talking about freaking Spook Fest. So let's
get into that. So the whole purpose of this podcast that, is there is we have realized over the 10 years, and being that this came out a day after Halloween, hope you guys had a wonderful and safe Halloween. But we've realized that we have had some ghostly encounters / there's one sitting in this room now listening to us, so we have to be very
mindful. We don't want any trouble.
No trouble. We come in peace. We're not here very long, so whatever.
I was under the covers last night saying, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
No, I was.
Okay.
Okay. So,
I didn't know that.
I was just getting like nasty with it. Like,
Okay,
let's roll it back.
So throughout our travels,
we wanted to have a spooky themed episode to honor Halloween.
Yeah.
And so go ahead.
But
I was gonna start something else. So
I was just thinking, I've realized that there has been certain contracts that we've taken in our housing area that we have been not the only ones there. And I think it's an interesting concept as well because it goes back to your belief if there's ghosts or not, right? And like what that means to you. And I think everybody likes hashtag ghost stories. I did hashtag, I said hashtag, but I did quotes. So it's hashtag quote unquote ghost stories.
Yeah.
So that's what we're bringing to this week's podcast.
Spooky tales.
Yeah.
Okay.
From the road.
And before.
And through stories we've heard from people we've met on the road.
So I do want to say, if you're scared, if you're alone in a dark room, maybe this isn't the best time to listen to this episode, because some things that we will be sharing with you might make your blood run cold.
Well, and that's why you should watch it, so then you feel like you're with us.
Yeah,
you know?
we'll protect you.
Yeah.
Okay, we got you. Okay.
That was your one time to look at the camera.
I really enjoyed it.
Okay.
We should just do the podcast where we're just like this. That would be like the only podcast ever that would just like that. Okay. I wanted to take it back a little bit because I'm a very like, should I just turn a little bit?
No. Well, yeah.
Okay. Because you were looking at me like my back was to the camera.
I want your expression seen.
Can you see me?
Okay, you're good.
Can you see me?
You're good.
Okay. So I've always been a very spooky, interested in the spooky sides of things in life. Like the spiritual world, ghosts, like as a kid, I was the kid who played Ouija board. I did seances with my friends. We would make potions. We pretended we were witches. We would do like the light as a feather, thick as a board. Like we would do
stiff as a board.
Oh yeah,
thick as a board.
Damn. Maybe that's why we never.
Yeah.
That's why we couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But we would always we loved that kind of stuff, and like my mom and my stepdad are super like into, well, not my mom I guess, but like my stepdad's like into like tarot, and so I've always kind of been in that sort of environment, and so I've always been very interested in this like ghostly world. And we would always play Ouija, and that Ouija board, man, it is real. And anyone who says it's not, I just got chills, because it's like, it's so real. It will tell you things that like nobody else knows. Okay, so we always used to play. And as a side note, it did tell me that I was gonna die in a tornado in Kansas, and that is literally so specific and something that I've never forgotten.
No, I know. Tell me about it, because how many times have we driven through Kansas?
Well,
and you're just screaming, go, go, go.
And I never, like, I'm like, why would I go to Kansas? Like, I'm good. Like I'm good. As a kid, I'm like, what's that? Like Kansas. And now it's like we've been to Kansas so many times. And I'm always
like we pulled over and had to stay in a hotel in Kansas before we got into Colorado, and you were like a nervous wreck. But then what's the first thing you wanted to do? Watch tornado shows.
I'm very into tornadoes and weather. So I don't know if it was like picking up on that, but anyways, like the Ouija used to tell us some crazy shit. So like I've always really been into like that side of things. And then when I was really young, I remember, so this was like my first encounter with the other side, and I am somebody who does believe in spirits. I believe in ghosts. I don't necessarily think like there's evil spirits that are like trying to get you. That's just not my experience, or something that, I don't know, maybe that I believe in. I don't know. I'd have to think about it a little bit more, but I think that I believe in spirits, but I believe in it more of like there's angels there to help you and guide you and kind of like be a support team in your life than like people who are trying to like
harm you.
Yeah. But then there are spooky things that kind of happen. So, but I
look at it as not harmful, but just misunderstood.
Ooh, yeah. Just weird vibes.
Yeah, it's people that don't understand nonverbal communication.
They
don't know how to act as ghosts. Right.
Like staring.
They're trying to communicate, but they don't. They weren't around during nonverbal communication time, so they don't know how to communicate. So they come off aggressive.
Yeah.
Even though they don't mean.
They're not trying to
be
spook
aggressive.
you. They just want to hang.
Correct.
And like have a beer, chill.
Totally, but they don't know how to do that.
Line dance.
They get angry about it, and they just like. Bah!
Just like do creepy shit.
Yeah.
I get that. Okay.
That's how I feel.
Okay. So the first time I was like really young, and I was laying in my bed, and the joke is, because it's like, I swear I like put up my finger
Right, in front of your face.
And I swear to God, I saw a black man. His skin was black, and he was wearing a gray trench coat and a gray hat, like one of those old school New York, like the old guys in New York used to wear, like. And it was so vivid. Like, I saw it. It was like not my finger. And I was screaming at the top of my lungs, and my mom came running in. I'm like, there's a black man in the room. She's like, what the fuck? Like, and clearly there wasn't. But I remember, like, being so, like, spooked by that. And then he reappeared a few times in my life.
Yeah, and I was present for some of those.
Yeah. Do you want to tell that story?
Well, yeah, I will say, too, like, just piggybacking off what you said, I actually came from the site of the family of the fact that when Kim and I first met, she was telling me about Ouija. I'm like, oh dear God, please don't mention that in front of my family, because that's the devil's work, right? And I do think, like, now that I have been around you talking about things and understanding the more spiritual world, right? Understanding that Ouija can be spirits in a way of talking to you, good spirits, right? It's just based off your perception of what you want to see that to be, right? So if you believe it's dark energy, it's going to be dark energy. It's the same thing of like what you're putting out, you get back, that we believe, right? So if you're focusing on dark energy, you want to bring dark energy in, I'm sure that's out there, right? Just like the dark web is out there, and it just depends on what you're seeking, right?
Right.
And so for us, we believe in the more beautiful side of the spiritual world, that it's there to help, it's there to guide, and it can't always verbally communicate to you in words that we're talking right now. They don't have, a YouTube channel for spirits. It just doesn't work, right? They can't talk to you. So they do it through different ways, right? And Ouija could be one of those ways, in different signs and things. If you've asked for a sign and gotten it, like numbers, numerologically, there's different ways that people believe that spirits can communicate to you in a beautiful way.
Yeah.
Right? And so I've understood that coming from all Ouija, all tarot, all spirituality was the devil, and it's the devil's work, and don't ever be around it. If you do, you believe in Satan.
Yeah.
And so that's what I was raised to until I met you.
You're
and then I was like, wait a minute.
This girl's like a witch.
I believe this because I've always believed it, but I've never put my own self-thought into it and found my own way of thinking about it.
Yeah.
And exploring and asking more questions, especially with your stepdad and your mom, about like, what does that mean? Because they're in that world, they understand it, and they were able to explain it to me so that I could open my own mind and come up with my own belief system around that.
Yeah.
And it's still hard for me that even when I do have these stories, I'm still kind of second guessing.
Well, and I think it's okay. I don't think not everything has to be like black and white, right? Like, do you believe in ghosts? Do you believe in spirits?
Do you believe in God? Right.
It's kind of like you can have different feelings, and all of them can be true while you're figuring it out. And it doesn't have to be, I feel like we get into this whole thing of like, this is how I feel. Yeah.
And this is right. And you're trying to tell me that I'm not right.
Yeah, it's okay to kind of just be like, I don't know how I feel exactly, but like this is like where I'm at and what I'm trying to kind of figure out. And like, it's all good, right? It's all okay. And I think that I 100% do believe in spirits, like 1 million trillion %. Just because I know through my own experiences that like and it's all energy. Like you can feel that. Like you can feel, when there's somebody else in the room. Like it's just a feeling you get. It's just energy, right? Like the Dominican story.
So the Dominican story was the first time I've ever experienced this with her. She's told me the story as a child, that story, but I never experienced it, and so I did.
Yeah, but we were in Dominican Republic. It was like our first vacation together.
It was our first international vacation together.
Yeah.
First vacation in general.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we went to Orlando together,
That
but
doesn't count.
I know, it was
this
big.
Is a big deal.
Big deal.
We had been dating for.
We went in February and we started dating October 20th.
Okay. How do you remember all this?
Because it was right before I proposed in June. Because remember, George asked me, like, did you go on that trip and you realized like she's the one you want to be with? Yeah. Post the spook.
Like this girl, I
gotta
enough. Lock her down.
She's crazy enough for me. I needed crazy, and I got it.
Yeah, I think you bit off more than you could chew. Yeah. You didn't know what you were getting into.
But he thought it was the Dominican trip that caused me to propose.
Oh, okay. I said
no, it was something else, but it's probably added to it. Okay. It was, oh my God.
Okay.
It was the time you said where you would love to get married in Stonington. And my first thought was like, I'll propose when we go there. And then I was like, wait, what did I just say? And then being me and knowing who I am, there's no way I could just sit and wait. So I had to get the ball rolling because I've already made up, made up my mind that you're the one that I wanted to marry. So,
chills, but in a good way.
So I went for it, right? But it wasn't because of Dominican, but it was probably a chain of events of all things.
Okay, I think that's...
We traveled well together.
We did, minus the spook. Okay, so what?
And I thought that was hilarious, which we're going to tell.
Not in the moment, but so we go to sleep, and so we go to the Dominican. We're with a couple of our friends. And but we're all in different rooms, and we're sleeping, and I guess you should tell it because I was sleeping.
Totally. So Kim's sleeping, and honestly, like I'm a deep sleeper, very deep, like really deep, and things could happen. My dad always told me that I would never want to be the one that he went to Vietnam with because I'd be in the foxhole sleeping, and there'd be like an attack coming in, and I'd still be asleep.
Yeah.
So that's just so you understand this concept. So I was out, right? We had been drinking and hanging out all day, so I'm just like gone. So all of a sudden, I wake up because Kim does this, and she's done it many a times. Now she apologizes for it. It's hilarious. But she does this
it hasn't happened in a while.
She does this like, and it's hard to recreate, right? It is that ultimate fear. But this time, she is like backpedaling backwards in the bed at a frantic rate and doing that like
because Black Man was coming for me.
It was literally, if you would have figured I was going to open my eyes and there was going to be somebody standing with a knife in front of our bed, right? And so I'm startled, halfway asleep, and she's still doing it, and now I just pop up with my guns up and I'm just like trying to figure out what's going on, but I can't see anything because I'm still asleep and she's still backpedaling. The covers are a mess. They're thrown off the bed because she's freaking out that much. And then she just goes, oh, sorry.
Can I back to sleep?
So now my heart's racing.
You're like, who is this witchy bitch?
She's freaking out. I think she still saw something. Now I have to go check the room. And she's just like...
who can go to sleep after that?
You?
No.
Sorry.
Well, I was...
Night-night.
I was shooketh. Because I, again, saw the Black Man, my black friend, my ghost friend, who, you know, I don't know if he's really a friend because I do get a scary vibe because I'm like, what do you want? What do you need? Like, Mimi just is staring at me. I just got chills. Do you see him too? Okay.
Okay.
I think I'm getting nervous. Okay. Because I'm like, what do you want? Because you're literally just standing there staring and scaring me and being creepy and like, and like that's not helpful.
Right.
And you know, and that he was like, I like saw him, and then he was like walking towards me, and I think that's when I was like backpedaling because I was like, it was like a scary. It wasn't like, hi, I'm your friend. I'm here.
Right. I'm here to make your bed.
Yeah.
And make you breakfast.
Or like, let's talk. Or I have something to
over coffee.
I have a message
let's
for
talk
you.
Over coffee.
Yeah, like, you know, because I think ghosts or spirits can give you messages and stuff. Like, you know, I like mediums, that kind of thing. I think you can get downloads and wisdom like through the spiritual realm. That wasn't the vibe I was getting. And so that was absolutely like terrifying. But then it just like went away.
Yeah.
Just goes away. And then I'm like, okay. And then I like rolled over because I was like shooketh. And I was like, I need to like process like what just happened. But then you're like, was that a nightmare? But that same figure, again, it's very specific, has come many times. So maybe it's a dream, but it's very specific. And it's a feeling I get that's very specific, you know?
Yeah, totally. And I mean, I had one of those with one of my ex-girlfriends where I stayed over her house the first time. And I woke up and saw something, tried to fake myself back to sleep, but then like opened my eyes a little bit more. And I found this like greenish, kind of like TV-ish, you know, when the TV's like going in and out kind of look, you know, like, whatever, staticky.
Yeah.
Right? Like figures, it was green. Oh. And it had super like lit up gray hair. Curly gray hair. And I was like, whatever. So I went back to sleep. I was freaking out, right? Covers over my head. like, please leave me alone. Oh my God, what is this? And then I'm like playing it in my head of like, was I dreaming? Was this real? I couldn't tell. So I woke up the next morning and I walked out into the kitchen, and my girlfriend at the time was standing there, and I see this picture, and I'm getting goosebumps now. And I'm like, who is that? And she was like, that's my dad's mom. That's my grandmother. And I was like, is she still alive? And she's like, no, she died a long time ago. And I was like, okay, you're going to think I'm really strange, but she was in the room last night standing by the bed looking at me of like, basically, who is this? And Jenny, without skipping a beat, said, oh yeah, she's been seen before.
Ooh.
And I was like, wait, what? Like,
she was watching you?
Yeah. And so she's laughing, and then she tells her dad about it, and her dad's laughing, and he's like, oh yeah. She's like, who is this? Like,
who is this, like, having sex with my granddaughter?
That's okay.
Was she watching you guys?
We didn't need to go there.
She was giving you tips?
No. It was early in the morning, sleeping, sound asleep. But anyway, like, that was my first ever real encounter, and then it became this real thing of like, wow, did I really see that?
You did.
And she was peaceful.
Yeah, but it's spooky, right?
Very spooky.
Yeah. Well, they say too, I think, like, you can go to a medium, but if you're not open, if you don't have like an open, I don't want to say an open mind, but if you're not open to receiving guidance or any sort of spiritual communication, they say that like you won't be able to get that, right? Like, that you can have connections with the spiritual side when you are open to receiving that, right? So like, you could go see a medium and it's kind of blocked because you're just like not really open to it.
It's the same with hypnotism.
Right. Yeah. Like, you can't hypnotize a mind that's not open to it, right?
Right.
And what were we saying?
I don't know.
Oh, San Diego. We could get into that.
Oh, well, you were telling something. Or did you just want to end it with
I
just
was
like...
just saying that.
There was no... It had an inflection point in the...
That was there was no like...
I was like waiting for the
build-up.
punchline.
There was no climax. Like, it was just like...
Okay.
That was it.
Move on.
Like, done.
Yeah, so then I guess like if you're saying...
Oh, I wanted to say something.
Okay.
I do remember. So when I was really young, my stepdad took me to Calistoga, which is...
Calistoga?
I've told you this story so many times, and if you say that, you have not listened. I've literally... Calistoga. We went to Calistoga, and I said, this is where I came, and I got my reading.
In California?
No, in Florida.
Oh, you know what I'm thinking about. Calistoga, where we went...
Oh, yeah, no.
That's where I went.
Calistoga, Florida.
Oh.
Wait, is it called Calistoga?
Yeah, where we went for our anniversary.
I know, California. In Florida, Calistoga.
No, it's not called Calistoga.
Yes,
There's no Calistoga, Florida.
Yes, it is.
No, we're not going to take the time to Google it. You can Google it after.
Hold on, I gotta look really quick.
No, my
Yes,
God.
you do.
Okay.
No, because this is gonna bother me.
So,
Hold on. I
Seriously?
got this. Calistoga, Florida.
is it in
Okay.
the location that's...
Calistoga. Casadega.
Okay, thank you. It's not Calistoga.
Okay. Is it yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna punch you.
Uh,
So I'm like, I told you this story so many times. So Casadega.
Okay.
Remember we went there?
Yes.
And it's like a kind of a witchy town, you know.
Ooh.
There's like lots of like spiritual bookshops and like, you know, mediums and that kind of thing. So of course, like, you know, my stepdad and my mom were very like drawn to that. And my stepdad took me to go get like my first reading. His name was Les, and he was like I believe, I was very young, but I'm pretty sure he was both blind and deaf. Is that possible, like, to give a reading? Because I remember...
No.
Okay, maybe he was just deaf or blind.
Okay.
I'll have to ask my stepdad.
Great story, bud.
This is taking a turn. But it was like my first reading ever, and I was young. And the only thing I remember, and I have it recorded. I have no idea where it is. Probably somewhere in storage, but it's on like a cassette.
Right.
So like
I was
I don't
about to
even
say,
know how
yeah.
to listen to it. I would love to listen. This guy was the real deal. Okay, but the only thing I can like really remember is that he said that I was going to marry a doctor.
Close.
But I did. In the medical field, somebody who wears, they're not always that specific, but like, and that I would be in the medical field and I would marry a doctor. And at the time, again, I was like a child, so I'm like, whatever. But anyway, it's like, that's true. And that I would have a swimming pool.
Which we've had plenty.
I've had many.
And
in my
also,
apartments.
I mean, we had a reading with Felix. We've had
Felix knows everything.
couple, but
yeah,
Felix
we're big
said
medium people.
we were in California before any of this stuff.
Right.
And he said, you're going to have like really strong work in Vegas. And at that point, we were in the fitness game.
We were like
and we're
personal
like,
trainers.
why are we going to go to Vegas? That's so stupid. That's the last place people go to like work out, right? They go to work out their, you know.
Not the vibe,
and,
yeah.
Like, you know, other things.
Their dick?
Okay. They're pelvic thrusting.
Okay.
Anyway.
What you doing in Vegas?
Come to find out, where do we go every year?
For TravCon.
Vegas, where we made the best friends and really learned that what we love to do and teach and talk, and Vegas.
Yeah.
Right? And he also said we're going to be on TV.
Which we will be soon. Stay tuned for that. But like, yeah, I mean, it's interesting.
We're on YouTube TV.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's like a side thing from being spooky, but it's just, we've had a lot of...
The spook stories are coming, I promise.
It's like one more, because I'm hungry at this point.
No.
We only have like... Okay. But yeah, I think they've also said many things that just through like speaking and connecting with like family members and different stuff, we've gotten like a lot of, I feel like looking back that they had a lot of perspective on what was to come that you and I were like poo-pooed at the time.
Yeah.
We're like,
what a waste of time.
Know what you're talking about. And then you look back, you're like, wow, okay. Like,
well, Homeboy and Chico that we did.
Chico?
When we were in Chico, we did the reading because Amanda Francis had the guy.
Oh.
That dude.
Oh.
That dude.
I forgot about
Wow.
You get me excited.
That guy we've listened to every year because that's insane.
We need to make another call with him.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
should be our Christmas present.
Yeah, totally. Like before anything, I mean, Kim and I were like literally like traveling the world for, that was our only goal. We had all these things, all these aspirations, and like he just poo-pooed on all of that and was like, no, like whatever it is you guys are doing in the future, it's gonna be huge, and I want to invest in it, and like it's
like
insane.
Invest in what? Our YouTube
our
channel?
YouTube channel.
Like, you know, that was before
our Facebook group.
Yeah, that
cool.
was before all of it. We're like, cool, you know, we're like, this guy's whack, like whatever. He doesn't see our vision. You know?
He doesn't understand us.
He doesn't understand us. And like, wow, that's incredible. He was amazing. If anyone is interested, reach out. I'll give you his information. We need to make another call with him.
Mm-hmm.
I just got chilly willies.
Totally.
He was...
Okay, can we tell some like ghost stories?
The first big ghost experience that we shared when we were taking a contract in San Diego, we rented, it was a house, but they locked the upstairs room. So like,
it was a huge house.
It was a huge house. We had access to the full bottom, and then they locked the upstairs, so like we couldn't go up there. And I always just had this, look, I have, like, you feel that? Seriously, I'm feeling.
You're not on Broadway, bud.
I know. I'm not making, like, it's like, it gives me chills, like, to think about, because, like, being there, I always felt this, like, heavy energy. Like, I was never alone. It just always felt that, and it freaked me out, but I'm like, whatever, you know? And then you saw. No,
so back it up. So we would be laying in bed. We'd be going to bed. And again, as Kim said, the main point of this is the upstairs was locked. It was a 5-bedroom house. 1 bedroom was downstairs, 4 were on the top. And it was all upstairs. So it covered the whole house. So Kim and I would lay down in bed, and we would literally hear like we are in a bottom floor apartment, and there's people walking on the floor, and you could even hear it on the actual like top. I'm getting goosebumps.
I know,
now.
see?
And we would just lay there, and we would panic, and we would remember like it was like a whole thing in our room and like locking doors and like weird feeling of just like somebody's in here right now, and I could never sleep. And that was like my first real contract of like I took a lot of call. I was on neuro call, and then I would have to leave.
I hated
and like
when you left.
I know it was like this.
I would put the lights on and lay in bed and just wait for you to come home.
Yeah.
I could not sleep.
I know.
Because I was so freaking, like, spooked.
Yeah, and so then that was also around the time that Kim's dad passed. And he passed, before that contract even started. And so then I was walking one night. I was downstairs watching TV, and then Kim was already in bed. And so I was going to the bathroom that was in our little area, and we had... It was like one of those 90-degree stairs where you walk up like 3 steps, and it was like a big middle like thing, and then you turn and walk up the rest of the steps. And I used to get a weird feeling around there, and I walked around the corner to walk in the bathroom, and my brain said, there's somebody standing there, right? So I turned again, and there was a male figure standing there, again in that like green, like my whole body is tingling. Like in that greenish kind of like appearance, and just staring at me. And there was no movement, nothing. It was just like staring, and I really couldn't say that it was your dad.
I don't think my dad would try to scare anybody.
Your dad was
he probably would. Let's be real.
Like, let's be honest. Boog. Yeah. Anyway, but it made I couldn't make out features or anything. It was just male, right? That's what I made out. And then I literally did what everybody does in like cartoons and stuff, where you rub your eyes and like look again, and he was gone.
Ugh.
So
that's some freaky deaky shit.
So then I used to pose on that stair with a blanket over my head and just stand there and wait for like Kim to come around the corner.
Always.
Yeah.
It became like such a thing that I like made him do it for like friends.
And then and you guys never came out of the room. Anyway, another story.
So
I stood there for 45 minutes in a sheet.
One of my best, side note, super quick. One of my best friends came to visit us in San Diego, and we had gone out and we were like having fun, and then she like drops this bomb that she thinks she's pregnant, and we're like, what the fuck? Like, what? Like, buzzkill? Like, and like, so then we made Aaron go buy all these pregnancy tests, and so Aaron, no, before you went and bought all the pregnancy tests, you didn't really know what was going on, and so we come back to the place, I'm like, Aaron thought it would be funny to dress up like the ghost because that became
because they said they were going to the bathroom, so I figured all 3 girls would just go to the bathroom and it'd be quick.
And that became like a common trick in the house because it's like ghost time, here we go. And so he thought it'd be so funny, and he's like outside the door, like, ooh.
I was standing on the stairs where it was, waiting for you guys to come out of the bedroom.
For like an hour, and we like never came because she
figured,
found out she was pregnant.
I figured I've been standing there this long. The minute I take the sheet off, they're going to come out. So now I'm pot committed. And so I stood there for 45 minutes and then went and knocked on the door and was like, what's going on? And then that's when it like...
okay? That house is definitely haunted. This house is hold on. Before we say this house, because the house that we're currently in, that again we're not trying to anger anybody, is currently haunted. But can we just tell the Joe story really quick? Because that was actually, it's super quick. This guy that we used to work out with in Wisconsin, he owned the gym. He was super cool. He came in terrified one day. Well,
he came in terrified, and then come to find out, to give the punchline, he hasn't stayed alone in his house. This is at the time, he was like 35.
Right, so.
35-year-old single dude has been living with his mom.
Like normal guy.
Yeah, like sleeps at his mom's house because of this terrorizing event.
I forget even what happened.
So basically, he said that everybody had always like said that they heard something, and he used to always hear something, and he basically felt something at night and woke up, and there was somebody standing over him holding him down. That's and he could feel it, and then it basically got its face close to his and went Rah! Like that, and he like couldn't get up, and he was pinned in the bed. And then when he could get up, he jumped in the car and drove to his mom's house, and then has slept at his mom's house ever since.
He never went back. But him like describing it was so funny because again, he's like a normal dude, like not a weirdie, you know, and like he was so scared. Yeah. And he was like crying, telling the story.
So then we used to joke because we'd hang out and drink, and we would just go, Rah! And he'd be like, stop.
He would like go home to his mom. So fucked up.
Anyway, so I have one more story that I just heard. So somebody that I work with, his wife is in the psychology, social services kind of thing. And so she was seeing a patient, and this poor patient was literally diagnosed with schizophrenia because he hears voices. Well, this guy's wife was talking to this patient, and they're trying to put him on schizo meds and all these kind of things. And so she's evaluating this patient. And so she was talking to her husband saying, like, this is a weird place to be because I can't say that I believe in ghosts and I think this guy's being haunted based off of the way that he's describing this to me. So I'm like super intrigued into the story, and I'm like asking more questions. So he's like telling me this whole thing. So he says, like, basically the dude presents no symptoms of schizophrenia on a normal basis. The only time that he appears schizo is when he goes home at night and he's about to go to bed. That's when he hears the voices. So basically what he's telling me is this guy is telling the apparent schizo guy who's being haunted is telling this guy I work with's wife, who's the social worker, what's going on. And he says, I only hear it at night and I only hear it when I'm going to bed. I basically I walk into my bedroom. The minute I walk into my bedroom, I get really cold. I feel something, and then I hear whispers in my head. And the whisper that I hear is, you're scared of me, aren't you?
Oh, stop. My blood just ran cold, bro.
So he's telling her that that's the only voice I hear. And then I hear things in my room, and I'm like, feel the covers and like weird things, and so I hide under the covers and all this stuff. So he's telling her this. So the poor guy is diagnosed schizophrenic.
I know. It's like, and he is probably like haunted or possessed, right? Like, I believe that. Like,
so then I was like, dude, tell him to move and see if it happens.
Right.
Right?
I think it's funny that is like grown humans that like we hide under the covers as a way to protect us from ghosts.
From a spirit.
That's what kids do.
Right.
Right? But like,
that's our only safety.
But are they?
I don't know.
Are they? Is that cheat keeping?
Well, you know, the
safe?
ghost is actually laying there next to you.
Stop. I know, but it is. But for some reason, we feel like that cover.
Yeah.
It's our safe place. Which, pro tip, you can put salt around your bed.
Did you learn that from?
I learned it from Hocus Pocus, but also just from Witchy things. And then Bo from Stassi and Bo confirmed the salt.
Okay.
So you can put, So you can put a ring of salt around your room or your bed, so at least your bed's a safe place.
Okay. So do you want you just going into the Stassi and Bo?
No. We don't need to talk about that.
Okay. So basically, we'll get into this house.
So this house is 100% haunted. It's a feeling that you get. Like, you can feel it. It's actually, for me, has gotten less. When we first moved in, it was really strong, where I felt a very unsettling feeling. But then
it felt very unwelcoming.
Yeah, and I had a talk with the ghost, and I said, listen, like, we're here. We don't mean any harm. We're only here for a couple of months. Please, just leave us alone.
Just hang tight.
Yeah, like, we're not here to disrupt anything. And then honestly, like, after that, I didn't feel a very unsettling, unwelcoming feeling, because I used to, when we first moved in, like, I would go to the like, our bedroom is separate from our bathroom, and I wake up at night to pee sometimes, and I would walk to the bathroom, and I would just feel this creepy feeling on the stairs that, like, you can see the bathroom, and I would, like, literally run like so fast because I was so scared to be out here by myself.
Yeah, so Kim was feeling that, and then there's two things that I've had here, three things actually. So number one, I'm sitting here and I'm watching TV. It's later at night. Kim's asleep, doors closed, lights are off. Like, I'm just sitting here watching, football or something, and all of a sudden I start smelling coffee, like strong coffee, and I'm like, what the hell? So it was like 11:30 at night. And so basically I smell the coffee, don't think anything of it because we are in an apartment complex and maybe like somebody's making coffee or accidentally, who knows, whatever. So all of a sudden I'm still watching TV, don't think anything of it. and I hear my coffee pot go beep, 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 because after it makes, it does the beeping. So I'm like, holy crap, and I could hear the pot steaming.
Yeah, they made coffee, yeah.
So our coffee pot turned on and made an entire pot of coffee. Number one, I thought, okay, maybe Kim accidentally set the timer. So I went in and looked, and the timer was set for midnight. This started at 11:30, right? So it wasn't the timer.
I think he likes coffee.
So somebody started coffee. Second thing, Mimi has been, in her old age, has gotten to where when we walk in the house, she doesn't even budge. She's sound asleep, doesn't even budge. We have to call her name. Sometimes we have to go up and like shake her to make sure she's still alive, you know, and like she's just not budging. She's not the best watchdog, whatever. She's just in it. I mean, as you can see, she's sound asleep right here. But
yeah, she doesn't wake up easy.
I was sitting here the other night, and she literally like didn't just wake up gingerly. Like she snapped her head up and looked right in the kitchen where like the coffee pot was, and her ears went back, her hair stood up, and she's going
ugh.
And she's looking in the kitchen. Mimi's been known to wake up and watch TV if certain commercials come on.
Yeah.
And there's dogs on there, animals. She knows those commercials. It's the weirdest thing, but apparently pugs have that, like we've been hearing.
Yeah.
She wasn't looking at the TV. She was looking dead in the kitchen. Lights were off.
Okay.
Everything. The last thing
I wanted to say something. I want to say something.
The last thing that just happened was we have wood floors, like real wood floors. And I was sitting here again, late night, watching TV, and I hear the wood floor creaking, going, eat, eat, eat. And there's one area near our stairs that makes that noise to where I thought Kim got up and was coming to the bathroom. And so I'm watching the door thinking she's going to come out, and I was going to tell her, hey, babe, I'm coming to bed, because she always is like, we ain't coming to bed.
I don't do that anymore.
You coming to bed? Like, and I'm just like,
I don't do that anymore.
I'll be in bed shortly, like whatever. But I thought she was coming out. And like, I realized she's not. And so who was making the noise on our wood floors?
Yeah.
And it takes me leaning on it back and forth to make that noise.
100%. It doesn't just do that. It's like, and it's not our neighbors. And then we live on a second story condo. There's somebody underneath us, but there's nobody above us.
Yeah, we're on the top floor.
And it's actually stopped.
It has stopped.
You've noticed that. But we had a couple of days where it sounded like, because our neighbors are next door, so I can hear them sometimes if it's really quiet. I can hear them like when they come inside and walk, because our front door is like you come in, but then you have to walk upstairs to get to the main place. So sometimes I can hear them walk up the stairs and they get home, whatever. We heard for a couple of days just this like walking back and forth that was above us. It wasn't beside us. Plus, I can't hear my neighbors walking around beside us at all. I can just hear them going inside sometimes. This was a constant like pitter patter like upstairs, and I'm like, okay, but there's nothing up there. There's nothing up there. Like, it's freaking me out because where is this coming from?
The attic.
But then Aaron found that there's an attic.
So then I literally, it was so loud that I couldn't work up the courage to do it, but I wanted to lift the attic to see if somebody was, to see if like a squatter was living up there. That's how loud it,
squatter.
That's how loud it was.
Yeah.
And it also happened in St. Augustine at the beach house that we were just in before we left for the Dominican. Remember, you were like, I heard people walking upstairs, but then there was like that's where the air conditions and stuff were, so maybe there was an issue. So we kind of like ruled that out.
Yeah. Well, and I think the other thing that with Mimi, so if there's like a thunderstorm, she freaks out, and like, so Mimi sleeps on the couch. She does not sleep with us, and she's having a dream right now. She just doesn't sleep with us because, as you can tell, she's a bit of a loud sleeper. She snores. She makes a bunch of noise. Oh, I was dreaming about the gold.
She's running from it.
She's like, leave my mom and dad alone.
Hey, buddy. Shh.
So She sleeps on the couch. I'm a light sleeper, so she keeps me up. Even though I'd love for her to be able to sleep with us, it just like never works unless I've been drinking. Then like can pass out and like
mommy lets her in.
I won't hear her. Yeah, she gets like a cuddle night once in a while. Yeah. And so she has no problem. She sleeps on the couch. It's been our routine forever, right? Since she was little. And the only time that she'll try to come in is if there's a thunderstorm because she gets scared of the lightning and the thunder, whatever. Okay. What the heck means?
Hey, bud.
So it's okay. Just either wake her up or whatever.
I'm trying to. She's out.
See, she doesn't wake up very easily. So the other night, I'm a very light sleeper. I hear everything. Erin's always passed out, hears nothing, like never knows what's going on. And she comes to our door. And I can hear her, like, she uses her paw to, like, slam the door. Like, basically, like, knocking, right?
Yeah.
If she had a hand, she'd be knocking. And I hear pop, 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 pop.
And you can hear the little pitter-patter of her little nails.
Just outside the door.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, what the hell, man? Like, what's up? And then I kind of, like, ignored it for a second. Because I'm like, maybe she'll go back to sleep. Because there was no storm. That's what I was trying to get at. There was no storm. It was a normal night. And I was like, well, maybe she'll go back to sleep. And then it was like, bam, 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 bam. Like, the whole door was, like, shaking. I'm like, this bitch she's coming in. Like, yeah. She is going to, like, she was, like, running and getting a head start and just, like,
ramming it.
Yeah, like, trying
shoulder
to
ramming
bust in. I was like, then I was like, I hope that's Mimi. Like, what the hell? And so I opened the door and she ran in and her eyes are bugged out of her head, like, even more than normal. Ears back. Just shaking, like hairs up, like she was distressed, like she was very scared. And I like grabbed her and I put her in my arms and she gets in the bed and she's freaking out and like, oh, like
couldn't get comfortable, staring at the door.
Yeah, like couldn't get her settled. And I'm like, there was no storm, there was nothing going on, and I'm like, I don't know what spooked her, but something freaking. And then you came out and like looked around.
Yeah. I checked the closets, everything. And
it was like, there was nothing here. And I'm like, well, now how am I supposed to go to sleep after this? Of course, then you pass out. Mimi's in the room. She's passed out. Now snoring, keeping me awake. And now I'm just laying and like waiting for the ghost to come in, like under the covers, just like eyes out.
Do you remember there was a time in San Diego that we heard something enough for both of us to run out into the living room?
Yeah.
And I had my knife and like my flashlight and I had it on the...
And I was going to call 911.
The strobe. Because there was somebody in our house.
Yeah, 100%. Where like somebody just broke in.
Somebody broke in.
Yeah.
And I started thinking about it. Was it by mistake that the district attorney lived next door? The San Diego district attorney. So then I was like nervous because you watch all those crime shows and like, you know, they go after the district attorney and blah, blah, blah.
They'll use our house as like a home base or something.
No, I
like
just thought they mistake our house for his house.
Or they're going to use our house as their base to attack the neighbors.
Totally. So then that's what I thought. But then when I ran through the house, because it was that relevant of like call 911, there's somebody in our house, to where there was nothing.
Yeah.
Doors were locked, nobody there.
You know what would have been funny? We should have taken an edible before doing this podcast.
No. We wouldn't have made it halfway through. You would have just been like asleep laughing on the couch.
Or just so shooketh. Just like shaking and like, you know? That would have been funny though. Yeah, I mean, that's really the point of this whole app was like the spookiness of like, and I think it's interesting too is that because we're travelers, we live in so many different houses, right? It's not normally people live in like one or two houses like their whole life maybe, right. Which is weird to think about if you really think about that. Okay, we live in hundreds maybe, right? So we live in all these different places and each place has its own character. And I do think like you learn the sounds, you learn the creaks of like what your new place does. But we're in all these different spots. And honestly, I really do think that there are spirits in a lot of these houses, you know?
Totally.
And it's interesting because I said I don't believe in like, I'm not sure if I believe in like the negative spirits and, but honestly, I guess it's like, I don't know if they're necessarily like negative energy, but what they're giving off is creepy. It's not inviting.
That's spooky to anybody.
Spooky.
I do want to.
But do you believe that do you believe that a spirit can take over your body and then you have to get an exorcism from a priest?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't think. I mean, it's like that sounds so closed-minded, right? Like
anything's possible.
Anything's possible. I don't know.
Do you believe in witches?
I don't believe in the Disney portrayal, or I just believe those were misunderstood people.
Well, the reason why you fell in love with me and Dominican and proposed after a couple of months is because I cast a spell on you with my potion.
Can we? Okay, maybe you did. It was called.
It was
called alcohol.
Go.
And drinking contest.
Hey.
Anyway, and flabalabalita.
And my kisses.
Totally. I do think. Well, it was the night too that we didn't want to go get dinner with everybody, so we just went to the gift shop and bought like Reese's candy,
binged.
Pizza, and popcorn.
That's
I was
a
like,
signature move
like
by
this
us.
is this is who I want to be with.
And just like watch TV
and sodas,
and just fucking
like,
binge.
Yeah, and, like you guys go to dinner yourselves.
Best night ever. Yeah.
I do want to give a public service announcement to anybody that is in Savannah, Georgia, and wants to go on an amazing ghost tour.
No, it's not amazing. The worst.
On our anniversary, on our honeymoon,
Yeah.
we went to Savannah, and this is how we'll close. Since it was such a spooky episode, we'll leave you something funny.
Okay. Because everyone's so scared. Hiding under their covers.
Hiding under the covers with this. I understand that. I feel you. We're here to
You're
protect
protected.
you. Yeah, totally.
And the cover is, too.
Yeah, Sage works, too.
I forgot I'd always pick my nose while we do podcasts, and then I forgot, like, we're on camera.
Okay.
It's like my time I do my digging while you talk.
Fun. Well, and that's the reason I'm wearing a hat, because I twirl my hair.
You did really well.
You noticed there was a couple times where I was like feeling it,
You
and
just
I really,
can't stop
I really
yourself.
wanted to twist because it relaxes me and it feels good. So that's what I do.
did good.
So my hat's on. So when people ask, "Why are you always in a backwards hat, man?" It's because I have a habit of twisting my hair, and this is my way of trying to break it.
And if
But
you
the
want-
minute the hat comes off, it's like twist.
And then I'll freak out.
Yeah. Anyway,
Not fun.
Savannah, Georgia. We realized that you can walk with your drink anywhere in the city. They have a non-open, whatever, the open container thing, not a law. Anyway, thought that was cool. Booked our late night ghost tour. Thought it'd be awesome. We roll up. We're staying in front of the meeting place. We don't see our guy. Our guy rolls up in a Debo bike.
But all you heard is.
I was getting there.
Okay.
If you've ever seen the show Friday,
Yeah.
Debo with his crickety bike.
Yeah.
So crickety bike, it's actually on brand, right? Freaky. Dressed in all black, kind of that goth kind of mentality. Black hair, just parks his bike on the fence, walks up in his boots or whatever. So we go on this ghost tour. He's telling us about these things that happen.
It was just the three of us.
It was just the three of us, private ghost tour. Literally, Kim, he has a flashlight, and he's like, something spooky happened at that house. And Kim was like, well, what was it? Did somebody die? Like, he's like, I don't know. You'll have to Google it.
You were like...
And so we were like, okay. So he's like, on to the next place.
So I thought maybe it was like a fluke or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe.
On to the next place. This cemetery is haunted. People have seen people. Like, was it somebody that was, like, killed here? I don't know. You'll have to Google it.
Yeah, we're like, we just want, like, some more information.
Yeah, I need a little bit more than just it's spooky.
Like, the only thing spooky about that...
Was him.
He
Totally.
scared the shit out of me.
Totally. And then, so we go through this hour-something ghost tour. We get back to the end, and we're like, okay, like, great job, buddy. Fantastic. We're kind of giggling because we thought it was just hilarious. Like, what an amazing time. And
At least
then
we were tipsy.
he literally said to us, would you like to come back to my place for a dribble?
And he had like a British accent all of a sudden. Or
Yeah.
We're like, this guy is
For
definitely
a
gonna
nightcap.
kill us. Yeah.
He wanted us to come back to his place for a nightcap. Now, mind you, we have no idea who this person is. It's not like we knew him as a friend of a friend.
Well, and also, like, I think when you have a guide that you connect, right? Like, for instance, when we went to Italy and did the food tour, it was just me and Aaron and the food tour guy, Andras. Arturo. I don't know why I said Andras. And he was so awesome and so fun. And if he would have been like, hey, like, do you guys want to, like, come back? We could have a drink. I can, whatever.
We kind of did. We went back
We went to a bar.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, like, I would have totally done it, right? Like, you connect with people and it's fun. You take it to, like, the next spot. This guy He
trying
wanted us to be a part of his ghost story. Like, I did a tour once, and like somebody said they saw a couple like on their honeymoon got killed over there.
Right.
Like he just wanted us to be a part of his story, and he was waiting to kill us.
And then he rode his crickety bike away. We were like, oh no, we have plans for after this.
Like
thanks
into
anyway.
the fog.
Great. And then he rode off into the fog in his crickety bike.
Into the cemetery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And disappeared.
That we love a good ghost tour. That was not the best one.
No, St. Augustine has some good ones.
St. Augustine has a good one. Have we done another one?
No, that's it.
That's it. Okay. So St. Augustine's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, that wraps up this week's podcast. Again, head over to YouTube if you're listening. If you want to see the visual of this whole thing, it's available for you. If you head over to YouTube, definitely subscribe. I will say, it's kind of one of these things. Kim was talking about this, that with the audio version and the video of this podcast, it's like when you go to dinner and you have an experience, and what do you do when you leave? You leave a tip, right? You leave a tip for people's services. For us, that tip is not money. That tip is you sharing this out. That tip is liking and subscribing, because that is the best tip for us, that we know that, hey, we're giving some value. You guys are enjoying this. And so you're able to share that out for us. So that way this podcast grows, because that's ultimately what we want, to entertain, to educate, to edutain, and bring some value to your life. So if we did that, then we would love that tip of you guys sharing it out and subscribing.
Thank you. That would be amazing. That would be amazing.
Wow. Did I have a timer?
I really have to pee.
Okay. So Kim has to pee. We'll see you next week. Make sure to map your own path. Always stay Travsessed. We'll see you next week, my friends.
We love you.
Deuces.
Bye.